welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Chandler Mabe Show. This is where we talk about politics, philosophy, religion, and this is where we carry on Charlie Kirk's eternal legacy, because he left a big impact on my life, and I hate to see when we let things die. We let people die, we let memories die. We're not going to do that. We're not going to let great men, truly a great man like Charlie Kirk, we're not going to let him die. We're not going to let his memory die. We're not going to let his legacy die. And we're not going to let the movement he started in this country, we're not going to let that die. We will fight every day for this great country and for the God whom we serve. So, I want to talk a little bit about the elections, the recent elections that we just had. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts, some analysis, some philosophy, where we go from here. What does it look like? Because we got smacked. We got smacked. We lost in New York. We lost in New Jersey. We lost in Virginia. We lost in California. We lost pretty consistently every race. In the great state of South Carolina, in which I reside, there were good races. There were bad races. City council races that I worked on. There was a city council race that I worked on. We lost. We lost those races. But there were good races too in the state house. There was a great conservative fighter that got elected to the state house. I'm very proud of that. But overall, it was a loss, and it was a wake-up call for the GOP. It was a wake-up call for this country. It was a wake-up call for the citizens who voted for Trump to get out and vote in every election. There's no time to take time off. There's no time to take time off. The fight is every single day. When we stop fighting, we lose. When we fight, we win. And it's our moral duty, if we love this country, to fight for it. So, I guess I want to start by looking at New York. Zohran Mamdani is the next mayor. He is a Muslim and he's a communist. And so within 24 years, New York City has elected a Muslim communist. Within 24 years of 9/11, Zohran Mamdani, a Muslim communist, has been elected as mayor of that great city. New York City is the greatest city in America. It is the most beautiful city in this country, okay? It is the most American any place in America can be. It is Americana, okay? The Yankees. We love the Yankees. You can hate. We love the Yankees. I'm not a Yankees fan, but you love the Yankees. They are America. They are America. The Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, New York pizza. What can be more iconic than New York City? What can be more American than New York City? And I'll say it, Trump Tower. Trump Tower is a quite iconic building. It is New York. Central Park. It is a great city. And it is being governed by, it will soon to be governed by a Muslim communist. Disgusting. Disgusting, especially after 9/11 happened. And we just forget. How quickly we forget. And that's what I was talking about earlier with Charlie Kirk. We're not going to do that. We're not going to forget what they did. We're not going to forget. I read today, when Erica Kirk got to the hospital, a police officer said, "You probably shouldn't go in there and see him. I've never seen somebody look so bad." And she said, "I want to go in there and I want to see what they did to my husband. Because we need to see the effects of what they've done to the city and to the country. We have to look at it and we have to face reality. We don't get the liberty of putting our head under the rock, retreating into our private communities. We don't get to do that. We're a country. We're America. And when my brother, my countryman struggles, it hurts the whole country because we're more than the individual. We are the political animal. We need each other." Aristotle said it. He said, if men had all possessions and had no friendship, they would have nothing. They wouldn't have what they need. They need people. They need community. They don't need physical goods and possessions. We're more than an economy. We're more than just an economy. So, Zohran Mamdani is New York's next mayor. Could have saw that coming. 3, 4, 5 months ago. I mean, I called it. Cuomo ran a very lackluster campaign. I love Curtis Sliwa, but, Curtis Sliwa, he didn't do it for voters. I don't know. Some people say, maybe him dropping out didn't have that much of an effect on the election. I disagree, actually. 93% of the voting data is in. We live in a total banana republic. We can't even count pieces of paper. We can't even count ballots anymore. It's ridiculous. But 100% of the voting should be in. It's been days. Okay, count the votes. Stop playing these games. Count the votes. It's not that hard to do. But Zoran wins by 50.4%. Maybe if Curtis Sliwa drops out, that gives a little bit of a boost to Cuomo, but I don't know. Cuomo's still a Democrat. Everybody, goes out and praises Cuomo. Cuomo's still a Democrat. He's still not going to be a great mayor. He failed as governor. He's a terrible governor. He kills all the grandmas. But I would have rather had him than somebody like Zoran. It's time to take threats serious. It's time to take threats serious. You have to look at people like that. You never should underestimate your opponent. Never underestimate them. Never think that you're unbeatable. Never get too proud. Harry Truman was out. He was supposed to lose in 1948. Polls had him way down, but he kept campaigning and kept campaigning and kept campaigning when his opponent got whacked, and he ended up winning. So keep fighting. Never give up. Another thing you have to look at is voting demographics. So 50% of the people that voted in New York City were white. The other 50% were non-white. They were immigrants. They were 17% black, 17% Latina, and 10% Asian, and I think 6% other, or 4% other. Maybe it's my percentages are off a little bit. But half of the city were New Yorkers. The other half are foreign-born immigrants. I mean, they're people that you're letting your country be overran by immigrants that don't adhere to your values, that don't adhere to Western values. Western values are Hebrew faith through Christianity, not through Judaism. This country is not built on Judaism. Nothing against nothing. Well, actually, yeah. I mean, this country is built on Christianity, on Jesus Christ. It's built on Greek philosophy, and it's built on Roman law. Jesus, Socrates, and Roman law. That's what built this country. Those are Western values, okay? That is what you have to adhere to. If you come here and you don't adhere to those values, you're going to get Zoran Mamdani as mayor. In his speech, he appeals to not the New Yorker. He said, I want to thank the Somali nurse, and I want to thank the Turkish taxi driver, and I want to thank the barista from Barbados. He thanks everybody but the American. He thanks everybody but the New Yorker. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. We need a moratorium on immigration. I'll just say it. No immigrants coming in. Trump capped it at 7,500. That's good. Okay, he's bringing in 7,500 from South Africa. People that adhere to your common values, and they're being persecuted over in over in South Africa. I understand that. You need to deport the illegal immigrants. You need to get them out, and you need to get rid of all the outsourcing of American jobs and the American labor and the American dream. You need to stop selling that to foreigners. It is my country and my dream, and it's not for sale to other people. Okay? Yes, we brought in other people. We allowed them to immigrate. But, we've tried that. We've just done too much. We've done enough. We've done far too much, actually. We've done so much that we've hurt our own country. And, citizens, they have a moral obligation to be safe in their country. They have a moral obligation for their leaders to represent them, not somebody else. I'm sorry. It's not out of hate. It's just out of common good political understanding of society. Okay? Zoran Mamdani wins because everybody who's not a New Yorker votes for him, and yeah. And in the GOP, we don't get out there and fight. New Jersey governor, that's an interesting one, but the New Jersey governor thing is interesting. Part of me was hopeful that he could win, but he doesn't. He doesn't win. I actually want to talk about New Jersey and Virginia together. Those are both states which Trump overperformed in. He loses the states, but he overperforms. He gets 52%, or Kamala Harris gets 52% of those states. In New Jersey, the New Jersey governor gets 56%, and the Virginia governor gets 57%. So overperformance in those states. It seems that, the Republican Party is going to have to grapple with Trump not being on the ballot and the effects that has on voter turnout. If you love this country, if you love Trump and you love this country, get out and vote in local elections. Get out and vote in them. Vote in them. It's your moral responsibility as a citizen. If you love this country, you will vote for good leaders and for good rulers. The Virginia governor is not surprising to me. The New Jersey governor is not surprising either. I would have loved to have seen both of our candidates prevail, but it's not shocking. I think two things that hurt us. I think sometimes we get hurt when we have lack of quality candidates. I'm not saying none of those were lack of quality candidates. I understand we get hurt when we run bad people, and we don't pay attention to our enemies. And the government shutdown has hurt us. The government shutdown has definitely hurt us. I didn't really want to talk about that, but I'm going to talk about it just a little bit. The debt in this country is out of hand, and the members of Congress that run this country don't care about us. They're doing the best thing they could actually do is shut the government down. And what I mean by that is it's better to shut the government down than to watch the government collapse. We're printing money out of thin air. We have $38 trillion in debt. You need to go shut this thing down until you can literally start calling for. The Republicans need to start calling for. You need to lower. You don't need to go back to previous. You don't need to go back to current level spending. You need to drop the spending. You need to go back to 2018. You actually probably need to go back to 1998 spending. You need to go back to spending where we don't have to spend all this money, because what you do is the more money you spend, the less the dollar is worth. The more you spend, the more you drive the debt up, the less the dollar is worth, and the more things are inevitably going to cost because of inflation. It doesn't take an economic genius to understand this. The reason everything is so expensive is because of mass inflation. Mass inflation. Trillions of dollars were printed out of nowhere. 40% of the money that is currently in circulation, 40% of the total money in circulation was introduced in the last 4 years. 40% of everything, of all money in U.S. circulation, was brought in the last 4 years. That is a disgusting statistic. They are just killing us. They're saturating us with dollar bills that mean nothing. Money that is worthless. They're selling the American dream. They're taking the dream from us. Home ownership is gone. Ownership of any... Part of the American dream also is just owning things. Just being able to have a house and have a kid and have a home, have a family, have a wife. They're taking all of that away. Can't own a home. Hard to get married. Divorce rates are up. Abortion. They're just aborting everything. Everybody's on birth control. All the women, it's hard to just even find people to even get married to. It's hard to find even people to marry. They have just overwhelmed us with just sickening, disgusting, selfish views. You want this country back? Go back to church. Go back to God. That's how you get America back. The Virginia Attorney General race, that just shows that they do not care. The left hates conservatives. They hate Republicans. They'll vote for anybody as long as they're not a Republican. Jay Jones, he was the Attorney General. He won the Attorney General. He ran for Attorney General as a Democrat. He won. He called for his opponent's children to be murdered in their mother's arms. It's disgusting. It is absolutely sickening. How he wins, it disgusts me. But it just shows that the left hates the right. They hate us. They really hate us. They want us dead. After Charlie Kirk was murdered and hundreds of thousands of people got on social media and celebrated his death, that shows you all you need to know. The country you once lived in, you live in no longer. And it's time people wake up and realize that they want to kill us. They really do. They want us dead. And it's just disgusting. But the number one issue that people said, the number one issue, people said was in the elections for 25, in the elections a couple days ago was economics. And so if it's an economic thing, I'm upset too. I'm a college student. I don't come from tremendous, vast sums of wealth. My family works, my mother works, my father works. I don't come from fortunes. I don't come from Hampton money. You know, my parents do well. They work very hard for what they have. But, you know, I was having a conversation with someone, and they said, really to get ahead these days, you have to have some kind of generational wealth. And I said, well, you either have to have generational wealth or you have to work really, really, really hard. And I said, and I think we agreed that it was actually both. I think you have to kind of have some money. You already have to have responsible members of your family, and then you have to work incredibly hard to even have anything at all. And that's sick. That's disgusting. If you look back at what things used to cost in the 50s and in the 60s, what the homes people used to be able to buy on one income, the husband worked and the wife stayed home and raised the family. The key unit in society, in political society, is the family. You have to protect the family. You have to protect the family. Divide it, introducing this dual income, both people work, all it does is double your taxable income, and it just raises the cost of everything. It raises what you expect to spend. You're not saving money, you're just spending it all, because the government's just killing you. You're being pressed from both ends. So I understand economics. I'd be upset about it too. Democrat economic plans are not the way to succeed, though. Zoran Mamdani wins not because it was good ideas. He basically ran the free ice cream campaign. But you know what? He did actually call out real problems, right? Which is the cost of living. Things are expensive, okay? Things are more expensive than they need to be, than they have to be, and certainly than they should be. His ideas are terrible. His ideas are, communism. They've never worked anywhere. But people like, at least when you're diagramming real problems, okay? Yeah, I don't worship at the altar of capitalism. I don't bow to the unseen hand. Yeah, I'm a capitalist. I am. I think it's a good economic system. I think it's been successful in this country. But I don't worship it as God. I recognize it has shortcomings. I recognize that it has faults and failures. But I'm certainly not a communist, and I'm certainly not a socialist. I believe in private property. And Marx, in his manifesto, he said my philosophy can be summed up as the abolishment, in one sentence, the abolishment of private property. And so Marx wants to abolish private property, and that just is not for me. I believe in ownership. I believe the American dream is ownership of your goods. It's ownership of your family. It's ownership. It's taking ownership of your family, yes. And what I mean by that is just having a family. You, the man, get to lead. You, the man, get to provide. You, the man, get the joy of coming home to your wife and to your children. That's the American dream. And that's being taken from us. People are getting married less and less, and people are having kids less and less, and divorce is up, and abortion is up. They killed half the generation. They killed a third of my generation. There's two of us in this room. There should be another person in this room. There should be more people. They've killed Generation Z, and I pray to God that we are able to, if we had true strong Republican congressmen, they would fight to end abortion. They would fight to end this evil atrocity. And they would actually not fight to do something. They would do it. They have power. They have the majority. They have the House and they have the Senate. Do something. Do something. Do something. Use the power the people entrusted to you to end these evils, to end them. We don't need more money to Ukraine, okay? End abortion. How about you fix the cost of living in this country? Every issue in this country can be fixed by Congress. They can fix the debt. They can fix social evils. They can fix societal evils. They can fix all these problems. They refuse to. They refuse to do it because they have no interest in it. They want to keep giving the problems to us. They are selling our generation out. They're taking home ownership away from us. They are showing their contempt for us. They're going to die. You know, these old people, they're going to end up dying, and we're going to live, and we're going to live 50 years from their failed policies. So we have to keep fighting. You know, another one that we lost on was Prop 50. I expected it, but it just shows you Democrats don't care. You know, they go after Republicans because Republicans want to redraw Texas, and then they come up with Prop 50. They don't care. They don't care. And you know, let it be known that Republicans should redraw those districts. They should redraw those districts. And I hope the Supreme Court makes the right decision on the race-based voting precincts. I hope they do that right. I hope they make the right decision. I hope they rule I hope they rule by the Constitution from a religious perspective for the common good of America. That's what I really want. But what I really want, I want Americans to wake up. I want Americans to realize that this fight is winnable. I want Americans not to lose hope. I want us all to get out there in 2026, and I want the GOP to run good candidates, good values, that really love this country, that have good ideas and that are honest and not beholden to special interests. Okay? I want people that have courage. The chief political virtue, according to Aristotle, is prudence. So I want my leaders to be prudent. And then the most important, I was talking to a friend of mine, he's running for office, and I asked him what the most important virtue is. He said it's courage. The most important virtue is courage. You have to have courage. You have to have courage to do the thing you said you will do. What happens is people get in there and they are beholden to, you know, their friends. They become friends with all these people, their colleagues, and they don't want to ruffle any feathers, and they forget that the American people are the people that they are beholden to. They become beholden to special interests and donors, and they just give up the fight. You're beholden to the American people, to the citizens that elected you, and you have to represent them well. And you have to have courage to do that. You have to be unpopular. If you're hated for what is right, good. You know, Christ, he says, if the world hates you, know it hated me first, because you are not of the world. So we have to fight. We have to be aware of real problems and people that are providing real solutions. Real problems in this country, nobody can afford anything. Yeah, economics were a big issue. We've got to do something about that. The Congress needs to act. They need to help Trump out. They need to act. You know, if we keep spending willy-nilly, keep spending all this money willy-nilly, this country collapses. This country collapses. Countries collapse. Empires collapse from economic overspending and ruin. That's how Rome collapsed. That's what Montesquieu said. Montesquieu understood the collapse of Rome is coming from moral decadence and decay. So you have to wake up. It's time to wake up, particularly people my age. The future is now. The future is now. We are the future. It's time to wake up. It's time to fight for this country. 2026 is coming. Vote. Vote in the primaries. Go vote. Vote for Paul Dance. Vote for people that are challenging status quo Republicans. Vote for people that are just for the American citizen and that love this country and that are smart and wise and God-fearing and prudent and Christian. Vote for those people. I pray that the GOP learns lessons from this. You know, I pray that they understand that, you know, you can't tell me the economy's good when things haven't come down, okay? You can't tell me that everything's great when everything's terrible, okay? You have to fix these economic issues, and they're working hard on it, but Congress has got to use their power. They've got to do it. They've got to do it. You really want to win elections in 2026, you got to have federal voting ID too. It's a simple one. That's just so simple. You have to have that. You can't let foreigners vote in your elections. You can't let non-citizens vote in your elections. And I know they say we already have it, but there are stories every year of non-citizens voting. That, if a non-citizen can vote, then why be a citizen? Okay? It undermines citizenship. Citizenship to the Romans meant something. Citizenship to the Greeks meant something. Citizenship to great countries means something. Make your citizens valuable. Make your citizens valuable. Treat us not like servants, but like citizens. We should not lose hope, though. You know, this has been kind of a up and down, back and forth, a lot of negative, positive message. Romans 12 reminds us to be not overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. Be not overcome with evil, overcome evil with good. We have to keep fighting. We have to realize that God is sovereign, God is on the throne, and, there's an old quote, Benjamin Franklin, he said, God will steer your boat if you will row it. And so God can send us good leaders to bless us, and he can send us evil leaders to punish us. But we praise God either way. Ultimately, we know that our citizenship is in heaven. If you're in Christ, our citizenship is in heaven, and we look forward to heaven. But that doesn't mean we don't fight now. If you love God, you'll love your country, and you will fight for it. It's an ordo amoris. It's an order of charity. And it just shows that you love your country, and you're willing to you fight for what you love. If you love your wife, you'll fight to defend her. If you love your children, you'll fight to defend them. If you love your country, you will fight to defend her. And that's what I call on everybody to do: to go vote, to pay attention, to be engaged, to not give up, to not lose hope, but to say, "This is my country, land that I love." Stand beside her and guide her. Okay, we are the people that stand up and protect this nation. We are the ones that get to pick our elected officials. We have a duty and an obligation to pick good ones. So with that, I implore you to be involved and to pray.